This is Qtv News and I am Jenna Sonko. Thanks for joining us. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. The Gambia is to receive 180,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine in the first quarter of 2021, and a UK-based Gambian scientist is among the vaccine development team. The Tourism Minister reveals that government paid over $188 million to hotels as part of their support to lessen the impact of COVID-19 on the industry. Other authorities getting serious about clamping down on illegal logging and shipping. 22 containers of the banned rosewood have been intercepted by the regional forestry officers and the police. A witness adversely mentioned by many witnesses that appeared at the TRRC claimed that only slapping and kicking suspects did not count as torture. In international news, tens of thousands of protesters have taken to the streets across Myanmar, demanding the release of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi and calling for democracy to be restored. In sports news, two athletes tells us what they have done to keep in shape during the coronavirus pandemic. Morocco make history by beating Mali 2-0 in the final of the African Nations Championship in Cameroon on Sunday and thereby become the first nation to successfully defend their crown. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Thank you for joining us. The Gambia is to receive 180,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine in the first quarter of 2021. This is according to the latest interim distribution forecast list of the COVAX vaccines. The Ministry of Health has set out vaccine rollout plan prioritizing health risk groups, including health workers, teachers, people with underlying health condition and security personnel as the first to receive the first batch of doses. Momodu Lamin Choi has the rest of that.
This is the interim distribution list forecast of the COVAX facility, emerging from a global alliance of economies aiming for fair access to COVID-19 vaccines. The Gambia is among the countries that stand to benefit from the COVAX facility, with an allocation of 180,000 AstraZeneca vaccine doses in the first round of distribution. UNICEF, as part of the co-leads of COVAX initiative, is responsible for the procurement and distribution of the vaccines to countries.
The messages that we would like to share are the following. This is happening. The Gambia will see vaccination against COVID-19 in the next couple of weeks. The government has a prioritization plan in terms of the populations that are going to be vaccinated first. And this is tremendously positive news. This is going to have a very positive impact in the transmission of the epidemic in the country.
The first round of vaccination is expected in the first quarter of 2021, when countries are expected to administer doses to their populations. For the Gambia to receive its first batch of doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine will depend on how much preparation the Ministry of Health makes ahead of the final allocation. Responsible for the planning, implementation and evaluation of immunization activities in the country is EPI, the Extended Program for Immunization. Already there is a national vaccination program plan by the Ministry of Health.
These are the facilities we are going to benefit from. Initially due to 20% to make sure that those at high risk, the health workers, those with the pre-existing conditions, the teachers, as well as the security, will be the first 20% of the population that will benefit from this, because these are the people on the firing line. So we need to protect them to make sure that they remain viable to protect the population.
The interim allocation list is subject to changes because it is reliant on the current estimates of the volume of supply, state of preparedness of participants, and other logistical arrangements. The World Health Organization is leading in the coordination efforts of its member countries.
Yeah, the coordination is most important is actually for this vaccine to be administered. We need to prepare the system, like people have to be trained, and also the public has to be given enough information about who is going to be vaccinated and when, and that preparation needs a communication plan also. and the training part is for the health workers to know how to administer the vaccine, and also any other related issues like how to dispose the items that are used, and also how to take care of any side effects that may arise also as a result of vaccination. There are many things that we have to really take care of.
The AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine is the first batch of doses that is allocated for the Gambia. Though the WHO is yet to give its approval to the AstraZeneca vaccine, it is among the approved vaccines in the UK. Among the core scientists of the Jenner Institute of the Oxford University who developed the AstraZeneca vaccine is Gambia's Dr. Mustafa Bitey. The UK-based Gambian scientist tells QTV about the efficacy and effectiveness of the vaccine.
I just want people to know that these vaccines are very, very, very safe. These are the safest vaccines ever produced in the history of humanity because they don't use anything from the virus. All they do is they leverage on the ability of the body to recognize a genetic code and then use that genetic code to produce a protein, which will then go on to prime the immune system. So these vaccines do not contain anything that comes from the virus. And we don't have to see the virus or, use the virus, in a sample to be able to come up with a vaccine.
The battle against a global pandemic has taken a new focus and attention, leading to vaccine campaigns around the world. However, we are not yet out of the woods. As more vaccines are being developed, manufactured and approved around the world, the coronavirus keeps mutating into several variants. This is a worrying trend because vaccines may offer less or limited protection to people infected with new variants. Because of this problem, the message from health experts to everyone is to get vaccinated and exercise preventive measures as a means of fighting a virus that is still uncurable. Mohamed Lamin Choi, Qtv News.
COVID-19 has had a devastating impact on the tourism sector. The Minister of Tourism on Monday revealed that government paid over $188 million to hotels as part of their support to lessen the impact of COVID-19 on the industry. He was speaking at the opening ceremony of a day-long tourism policy review workshop. More in this report from Ansumana Isonyasi.
In a move that has been welcomed by stakeholders in the tourism industry, the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, with support from the UNDP and partners, is reviewing the national tourism policy and strategy in a bid to boost the growth of the industry. Addressing stakeholders, Tourism Minister Hamad Bah expressed profound gratitude to their partners for supporting them in making what he described as a very important exercise that will help map out economic strategies that will curb challenges in the sector, and went on to reveal that government had provided support to hotels to the tune of over $188 million.
Government have been flexible with most of the issues that were related to tourism vis-à-vis government. As at 31st December, I'm happy to announce that the government of the Gambia have paid $188,579,345 to hotels during the COVID period as at 31st December.
He also adds that this review process is important as it will help guide the ministry in its drive to provide the necessary support for the sector's growth as outlined in the National Development Plan. Kodu Jabang Senghor, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Tourism, says over the years, the tourism sector has gained prominence in terms of programs and investment, hence the need to undergo an unprecedented paradigm shift to better serve the country.
It is against this context that the need has been felt to formulate a new comprehensive national tourism policy and strategy with a view to repositioning the tourism sector to engender and sustain institutional realignment and synergy in tourism.
Several speakers took turns to share their views on the new policy document. Meanwhile, officials expressed hope that once finalized, the new policy will make an instant and positive impact. Answana Sonyasi for Qtv News.
For years, there have been stories in local and international media about the illegal shipping of rosewood through the Gambia. 22 containers of the banned rosewood have been intercepted by the regional forestry officers and the police. The Ministry of Environment revealed at a press conference on Monday that the suspects are currently on trial. Lole M. Kamara has the rest of that.
The Ministry of Environment say they are gravely concerned about illegal cutting of trees. The latest arrest is to do with rosewood, locally called Keno, which is in high demand and banned in the Gambia for trading in the Gambia to protect the species from being extinct. Lamin Diba, the minister responsible for the environment, climate change and natural resources, explains how the 400 logs were confiscated, leading to arrest.
The complete moratorium on the movement and exportation of logs out of this country. But you know, this is a complex setup. You still have unscrupulous businessmen and some unscrupulous officers who would definitely connive with these people to get this thing into the ports. This particular incident, before coming to the buffer zone incident, we were tipped, we get intelligence that some containers were already into the ports. And together with the Gambia Police Force and with the intelligence, we were able to trace all these containers, and they were taken out of the ports. And right now, the culprit is going to court, and the judgment for that is set for the 19th of this month.
Minister Diba revealed that smugglers move late at night in an attempt to evade security checkpoints.
They wait until late at night. The information we got at 3 a.m. To transport this from their location to what they called their depots, and from there they move it to the ports. But and some of them we now understand would use false declaration. Instead of saying this is wood, they would say this is groundnut, this is cashew, but that should not be an excuse, because as an officer responsible, before you could certify anything, then you need to verify it inside. So this measure is now being reinforced, and this is why all these things are coming to light.
In addition, Minister Diba says they have also strengthened border surveillance, particularly in the northern part of the country, from where most of these woods are smuggled into the country. Wuri Jallo, technical advisor at the Ministry of Environment, says they are committed to protecting the environment, which remains a great concern.
The issue of the environment is very critical at this level and also at the global level. So we are sparing no stone, and we must make sure that we play our quota, and our quota is to inform the community, the population, the entire country, about the serious implications that we have in terms of the depleting forests and, of course, environmental degradation as a whole.
The Minister of Environment warns the public that anyone found cutting trees within the country or transporting it through the country from outside will face full force of the law. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
We will take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we have more local news stories, international and sports news. Do stay tuned.
waaw kay sama gaay warga bu neex ñëw na ci dëkk bi waaw ñu naan ko Ejara ak warga bi mooy warga bi piire warga bu neex bi moom la réew mi yëpp di naan ana naan kati ataaya yi ana yéen ñi nga xam ne da ngeen taamu ataaya ju neex di ko naan di tàqamte ko muy saf ci sa biir gémmiñ nga di ko fiil ba ci sa biir yaram cey Ejara ak warga bi non Ejara ak warga bi moo neex saf na te itam am na gu foos bi ne moo dàq seconde bi ñëw ne maa ko raw ba ci laas barada boo ci togg rek ne bii moo gën a neex man daal Ejara ak warga laa taam te képp kuy naan ataaya moom nga taam ndax dafa neex saay boo bëggee naan ataaya jàppal ne warga wu neex waa ngi nii di Ejara ak warga kon bu leen jaaxle taabul marché wala supermarket foo dem rek am nañ Ejara ak warga kon yéen ñi taamu warga bu neex seen jaaxle jeex na jënd leen ko gaaw yéen ñiy jaay wholesale wala ngeen di jaay retail ndax warga bi foo ko teg mu dem ndax ñëpp a koy wër cay Ejara ak warga moo pire de daw leen gaaw kon Ejara ak warga ngi noonu man mi moom laa taam moom lay naan ay jox ma kaas yow cay Ejara ak warga maa ko bëgg
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. Education is the strongest foundation of every successful nation. Adama Jaju, a young lady, launched her scholarship foundation on Friday, which will sponsor the primary to senior secondary school level education for 5 girls from different communities in the Combo South district of the West Coast region. Omar Pijalo attended the launch and he files in this report.
The true image of the country we want to see in 2045 is a country which will accept the children's views and ideas to move the Gambia forward.
Launching a scholarship program is a rewarding and exciting experience, yet it is a challenging initiative that requires proper planning and a teamwork to successfully launch and sustain it. A scholarship is a unique way to provide an opportunity for students to turn their dreams into reality, as it provides life-changing opportunities in the form of financial aid to the students who do not have the financial means to continue their study. However, there are different reasons why people form and run scholarship foundations. In the case of Adama Jaju, she wants to share an award given to her as a birthday gift by her partner organization called Team Run the Base, a humanitarian organization based in America. Adam said each year, in commemoration of her birthday, the 30th of October, she organizes a sporting event. However, last year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, she held the event virtually, and luckily for her, she was awarded a scholarship to support 5 girls from primary through to senior secondary school level.
I may not have much to give, but I am sharing the little I have. That is what is most important in my life. Today, I can proudly stand here and say that sport has changed my life. I am loved, I am honored, I am embraced, I am connected, I am celebrated, and most importantly, I am respected.
Representing the Alcala of Sifo, Sana Demba described Adama Jaju as a great daughter of the community of Sifo and the Gambia as a whole, who is always willing to share and support others, thereby contributing to the development of her community. The Ward Councillor of Kartong Ward, Bubakar Kante, called on parents to be interested in their children's education by encouraging them to take their education seriously so that the funders of the scholarship will be encouraged to continue and even expand it to sponsor more students. John Bass, the CEO of John Bass Kidney Failure Foundation, promised to partner with Adama Jaju Scholarship Foundation to raise public awareness in schools about kidney failure and similar health problems.
Today you have started with 5 children. I believe with you, in the future you can have over 100 children.
Aissatou Jata, one of the beneficiary students, was full of joy and praised the sponsors and assured them that she will take her education seriously.
I feel happy and I will say, Adama Jaju, thank you for helping me.
The launch was characterized by dramas and poem recitations, all depicting the importance of girls' education. Established in January 2021, the Adama Jaju Scholarship Foundation aims to support girls' education and encourage girls to take up sports such as football.
Our education system needs improvement. The school children are still struggling with the poor learning system. How can more than 55 children learn in a class? We need improvement, if not things will crash. Some children are not going to school. Street becomes their school. So if we want the country we want to see in 2045, then we should not neglect the leaders of tomorrow for the Gambia, our homeland.
Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar Pijalo.
The Gambia Red Cross Society presented various items to schools and a hospital to support education and health in the country at a time of coping with the impact of COVID-19. Ajibintu Drame has the rest of that.
The presentation was low-key due to the COVID-19 pandemic. These materials were handed to the Gambia Red Cross by the Ibu Malas Children Charitable Foundation and the UK's National Police Aid Convoy to be given to several regions within the Gambia. The items include tables, chairs, 30 boxes of blankets, 153 bags of clothing, boxes of footwear, toys, among other items to be given to schools in the North Bank, Lower River region, and the Greater Banjul area. The aim is to promote education and help the less privileged. At the presentation, Sambaba, a representative of Ibu Mala's Children Charitable Foundation, spoke of the importance of the gesture and commends the Gambia Red Cross Society for their diligent efforts during this global crisis.
Vulnerable people and communities that we interact with, we get them the items that they need. So, and then one of the reasons why we identify the Gambia Red Cross Society is the efforts that the Gambia Red Cross Society makes in this country is not news to anyone. We have seen the tremendous job they have done in the fight against COVID.
Alassane Senghor, the Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society, applauds the donors' initiative to help the vulnerable, most especially children, adding that the COVID-19 has overexerted their resources.
As we work towards 1 year since we started our COVID operation in the Gambia, we are now at the stage where we are planning to do an inventory, to look at what we have done, how we have performed, and to produce two things. One, we will do an extensive audit of all the resources that came into through the Gambia Red Cross and through the COVID operation.
Mr. Senghor took the opportunity to thank the organizations and individuals who supported good causes during this crisis.
All Gambians or institutions need to come together, to work together, use their comparative advantages to help communities, especially the vulnerable communities in the country.
Hospital materials were also donated to the Bansang Hospital as they are among the targeted beneficiaries. Ibu Mala's Children Charitable Foundation is a non-profit organization founded in 2017, dedicated to advocating for the vulnerable, most especially children, by supporting education and health initiatives. Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
A witness adversely mentioned by many witnesses that appeared at the TRRC, the former senior NIA Director of Operations, Salmina Drame, on Monday initially told the Truth Commission that they only slapped and kicked suspects but hardly tortured them. Babukar C has the rest of that.
The former senior member of the NIA, who once served as the Director of Operations, began his testimony with his education background, his career, and joining the NSS, which was later renamed the NIA. Despite being adversely mentioned by several witnesses, Drame said he only witnessed 2 tortures in his time, telling the commission that the term torture for him is the use of machines and other tools to inflict pain on people. He said slaps and kicks cannot be termed torture.
Somebody will do something, appear before you, and will lie to you. Emotionally, you slap just to get the truth out of him.
When informed by the lead counsel on what torture is and the numerous torture sessions that took place at the NIA during his time, the witness finally agreed and accepted that he had knowledge of many tortures. Salmina Drame told the commission that the only 2 tortures he witnessed were that of a money doubler who was kicked by his boss Daba Marena, and the torture of Serin, who was said to have been stripped naked at the NIA headquarters, telling the commission that Ndigal's arrest and torture was a directive from Yaya Jammeh. The witness further went on to confirm to the TRRC that he was involved in beating arrested individuals and the Farafenye camp attackers, saying senior members of the NIA like Baba Saho, Fode Bari, and others all tortured the victims, particularly that of Balo Kante. The witness tried on many occasions not to incriminate his colleagues, but after a long period, he finally relented and gave the names of officers involved in the beating of the alleged suspects. On the 1996 PPP supporters who were arrested and tortured, the witness said he was not part of the investigation team, but would lend a helping hand in torturing arrested individuals before leaving the investigation team to continue with their work.
Actually, I was not part of the panel, panel of investigators.
You
just went to assist your colleagues.
Yeah, on arrival. At the end of his testimony, The witness accepted that most of their actions were unlawful and out of order.
We were out of line, the principles of the work.
Silo bulale do ko nyin na sartolu ay memfo.
And out of that, some people suffered.
And ya sabu molu sotonta menno batata.
Some are innocent people.
So
definitely in that part, I regretted everything. No, these are trained police officers. They have done law. And really.
And they also carry out torture.
Well, torture is part of the security work. No security officer will tell you, I have never touched anybody until I left service. No security officer will tell you that.
Salmina Drame apologized to the Commission and the country for their actions during his time with the NIA from 1994 to 2017, saying 90% of security officers around the world cannot deny taking part in torture. Babukar Si, Qtv News.
We will take another short commercial break, and when we come back, we have international and sports news. Do stay tuned. Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. On to some international news. Following last week's military takeover in Myanmar, tens of thousands of protesters nationwide took to the streets demanding the release of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi and for the democracy to be restored.
Myanmar hit world headlines on the 1st of February when its military seized control and detained the country's de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi and members of her party. Suu Kyi, also known as the Lady and Mother Suu, in a letter urged her supporters to protest against the coup. The people then did just that in a third day of nationwide street protests calling for her release and the restoration of democracy. It is reported that people began to show their dissent by banging pots and honking car horns. Staff at dozens of hospitals and medical centers walked out. Fearing the mobilizing power of social media, the military blocked access to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But that failed to stop large nationwide protests on Saturday. The rulers then ordered a full internet blackout. Protesters again took to the streets on Sunday in what is described as the largest protests since the so-called Saffron Revolution in 2007, when thousands of the country's monks rose up against the military regime. Protesters have been grouped by professions, including teachers, lawyers, doctors, bank officers, and government workers. One demonstrating doctor reportedly told the BBC, and I quote, "Today, we professionals, especially civil servant professionals such as doctors, engineers, and teachers, came out to show that we are all together in this. Our objective is the same, to make the dictatorship fall." End of quote. In the capital, Naypyidaw, police turned water cannon on them. A video appears to show protesters rubbing their eyes and helping one another after being soaked. One protester told the BBC that 2 vehicles had sprayed them with no prior warning while the crowd was peacefully protesting in front of the police. A few injuries have been reported. According to the BBC correspondent, the police appear confused over how they should deal with the crowds, which have completely outnumbered them. The military rulers, though in control of state media, have not issued any statement on the protests, and having installed Commander-in-Chief Min Aung Hlaing as leader, they appear to be consolidating their position as generals have begun replacing ministers and deputies, including in finance, health, the interior and foreign affairs. The military seized power and declared a year-long state of emergency after claiming that the election held in November, which saw Suu Kyi's NLD party emerge with a landslide, defeating the army-backed opposition party, the USDP, had been fraudulent, a claim that the Election Commission said it had not seen any evidence to support. For now, the protests seem spontaneous, locally organized expressions of defiance with no clear leaders. Meanwhile, the lady has been reportedly charged with the laughable offense of possessing illegal walkie-talkies, which would be enough for the junta to disqualify her from the new election it's promising to hold eventually. They have done this to her before. She is now 75 years old and in military custody once more. The question now being asked by political observers is whether the international community will rally in her active support as they had once done in a frenzy of sanctification that only recently came crashing down when the lady refused to acknowledge accounts of the army's atrocities on the Muslim Rohingya minority. Instead, she defended the military against charges of genocide at the ICJ, earning her a new international image as the fallen angel. Her election win in November now appears to have been a Pyrrhic victory, and according to some analysts, even if she manages another political reincarnation, the generals are betting that she may no longer be the resolute figure she once was. Elsewhere, we have seen people power force the hand of leaders considered legitimate, but whether that would be replicated here, in a country that the army has had a hand in running since 1962, remains to be seen. For QTV News, I am Mahmoud Mbouch.
In sports news, amidst the lack of competition due to the COVID-19 pandemic, 2 athletes say they have used a local beach for racing and to maintain their fitness. As Mamudu Gajaga reports, the race was organized by Asan Boot Camp CrossFit.
24 runners took part in the race from Palmarima Road and finished at Joyato Beach. The 10-kilometer race lasted less than an hour, with the winner Samper Gomez completing course in half an hour.
I don't have collective training. Normally I go to school in the morning, then train in the afternoon. So it's not easy. But athletics is my career, it's my talent, so I have to make good use of it. So I'm training every day. My coach, I want to thank my coach for the hard training because it's not easy. Every day sacrificing, paying fare from Florida to the stadium. Yeah, thank him a lot.
Among the runners was national athlete Nyima Kamara, who specializes in long-distance running. She says that even though she enjoys the race, running on the beach is different from the road race she is used to. Despite her excitement, she says the lack of competition for over a year is affecting her performance.
Without competition, we are not having any hope. Yeah, that's why I even come to this field today. Because we are not competing, we are not hearing anything. Since last year, February, we compete, we don't have any competition. It's not only affecting us, it's stopping us. Yeah, because since 2020, February, today, it's 1 year now. We don't compete. We are training. Yeah, continuous training. Every day we pay fare, we train, come back, buy breakfast, and eat, and we are not having any competition.
Asan Sar, the founder of the Asan Bootcamp CrossFit, says he organized the race to promote awareness of the importance of physical exercise. Asan added that he wants to see people's health improve through regular exercise.
Like I always tell people that, this is our aim, to keep people fit and healthy. And then letting them understand more about us is to come out and then organize a lot of events like marathon, fitness show, because people health is something else. So these are all ways of contributing, in natural things in the country for people to be able to benefit, some of the physical things that we have as we as young ones, we go and learn certain things and come and implement it in the country.
Physical activity or exercise can improve one's health and reduce the risk of developing various diseases like type 2 diabetes, cancer and cardiovascular disease. Physical activity and exercise can have immediate and long-term health benefits. Most importantly, regular activity can improve one's quality of life. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
Morocco made history in beating Mali 2-0 in the final of the African Nations Championship in Cameroon on Sunday. In doing so, they became the first nation to successfully defend their crown. Earlier on the same day, host Cameroon lost to Guinea, the third and fourth place playoff. Adedrame tells us more.
Ahead of the contest, Cameroonian authorities took every precaution to ensure that 25% of fans allowed in would be safe by allowing them in 5 hours ahead of kickoff. And, in keeping with the spirit of the tournament's mood, there was great musical and cultural entertainment to set the mood. Before the final, there was to be further disappointment for the home fans, as their beloved indomitable Lions lost 2-0 to Guinea in an entertaining game that was played as if it was the final. For Guinea's Moulay Sylla, there was joy after his semi-final disappointment. Guinea's star player had been the only one to have his penalty saved, as his team was eliminated by Mali in a penalty shootout. In this match, however, for the bronze, Sylla not only scored a fine goal to give his team a 9th-minute lead, he also ended up with the Man of the Match award. Mamadou Bangura added a second in the first half added on time. Cameroon fought valiantly to get back on terms but failed to do so, leaving the field downhearted and the crowd disappointed. The game ended 2-0, and as Sylla picked up his 4th Man of the Match award, he could be sure that he had made history by becoming only the first man to do so. It was then on to the final, as Morocco faced off against Mali. Fans were to see a tense first half with very few chances from either side. Both sides struggled to impose their tactics, and it was no surprise that the first half ended goalless. The teams walked past the trophy into the changing rooms, wondering which one of them would claim it. In fact, in the whole game, neither keeper was seriously tested, and Morocco managed a mere 3 attempts on target, from which they registered their 2 goals. There was relief for both fans in the stadium and those of us watching online, with some sparkling half-time entertainment and also some nice cultural displays. The game sprang into life in the 69th minute when Soufiane Bouftini headed in powerfully from a poorly defended corner. There was joy from the Atlas Lions players and staff, and relief from the crowd, as they had probably feared there would be no breakthrough. 10 minutes later, it was all but over, when from a corner from the left, the Mali players failed to clear, and Morocco's talismanic captain, Ayoub Al-Kabi, scored with a header to move further ahead as this tournament's all-time leading scorer. This second goal was particularly painful for the Mali players to accept, as the ball appeared to have come off a Morocco player and should have been a goal kick, not a corner. Not only were their protests in vain, but goalkeeper Jara talked himself into the referee's book. The Mali players seemed to let that decision get to them, and they seemed to play the rest of the game with a sense of grievance. In the 89th minute, as the match was winding down, Mali's Isaka Samake faked being badly tackled, leading to a yellow card for a Morocco player. After a 5-minute VAR review by the referee, the yellow card was rescinded, and Samake instead was shown a straight red for his vicious stamp on that opposing player. This was the cue for more impassioned protests by Mali's players. Not long after that, the referee ignited joy among the Morocco players and officials when he blew the final whistle. They deserved their victory and looked the best team throughout the whole tournament. And they also ended up with the tournament's leading scorer in Soufiane Rahimi. We wonder now, will they be able to defend it in the next tournament? For QTV News, I am Ade Darami.
Before we end this news bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. The Gambia is to receive 180,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine in the first quarter of 2021, and a UK-based Gambian scientist was among the vaccine development team. The tourism minister reveals that government paid over $188 million to hotels as part of their support to lessen the impact of COVID-19 on the industry. Other authorities are getting serious rather about clamping down on illegal logging and shipping. 22 containers of the banned rosewood have been intercepted by the regional forestry officers and the police. A witness adversely mentioned by many witnesses at the TRRC claimed that only slapping and kicking suspects did not count as torture. In international news, tens of thousands of protesters have taken to the streets across Myanmar, demanding the release of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi and calling for democracy to be restored. In sports news, 2 athletes tell us what they have done to keep in shape during the coronavirus pandemic. Morocco made history by beating Mali 2-0 in the final of the African Nations Championship in Cameroon on Sunday to become the first nation to successfully defend their crown. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Do join us at 10 for another bulletin. Thanks for watching and do take care of yourselves.